welcome to everyone here at the Ship in Brisbane, and I'd like to say a particular welcome to all of our participants who have joined us online. Thank you very much to Professor Mary Keyes of the Law Futures Centre for yet again supporting an event like this. As Mary said, we were very fortunate last year to hold 3 repair events. In February, on the 5th and 6th, we held an academic workshop, which is actually one of the first. I'd like to say we did beat some very important overseas universities, but we had an international workshop. We had Professor Tyner, Tyner, I can never pronounce your name. I'll say Tyner from the University of Helsinki. She's finished. And a beautiful friend, I apologise, Tyner. And Leah Chan Greenwald from the University of Suffolk in Massachusetts, and Professor Graham Austin from New Zealand, as well as a whole range of learned scholars who joined us here for an academic workshop. We also held a public event that was supported by the Law Futures Centre again on the 6th of February, where we discussed the right to repair. So 6 months later, in October, we held a Building Back Better Repair, Recycle and Reuse workshop here in this very room. And we did have some participants that joined in online again. And this is part of a series of workshops that we would really like to continue to promote, and I will promote through my fellowship in the next 4 years, to bring this repair community together, to build it back and stronger, so that we all know each other and that we are one, and that we can get this message out to the community and to our policymakers about the importance of the repair to our environmental futures. So tonight, we have a mixture of people in the room. I won't, because of the number of people that we have here tonight, both online and in person, it would take the whole seminar for everyone to introduce themselves. So I'm just going to give a shout out to the range of organisations that we have represented here today. As we've heard, we've got people from the university sector. We have people from University of Queensland, our colleagues from University of Queensland Sustainability, and from the Engineers Without Border, Pabina, who set up or convening the UQ Repair Cafe in the university sector. We have individuals from the University of Canberra Repair Cafe, which is great to see. This is something I'd really like to grow in the university sector. Every university with their fantastic expertise across all disciplines with students and staff. It's something I'd love to see, a repair cafe on every university campus in Australia. We have 38 public universities, and I think we should have one on every campus. We have people from the Geelong Repair Cafe, Lake Macquarie, Unley, Canberra, Hobart, Belmont, Hawkesbury, Castlemaine, Albury, Wodonga, Moonee Valley, Bega, Gold Coast Tool Library, Repair Cafe New Zealand. A special shout out to Brigitte, who's joined us all the way over the Tasman, our Trans-Tasman colleague in the Repair Cafe New Zealand. Welcome to our seminar, Brigitte. We have people from Double View Repair Cafe, from Transition Town in Perth. We have people from, interested people from community centres as well, the community centres of Queensland, Rainbow Beach, Beenleigh, Benawara, which is in Chelmer, and Kenmore. And we have individuals who are here who have an interest. If there's anyone I didn't mention, we have people from the Grove, sorry, John and Jim. But I think I've ticked off everyone that we have, which is a really great spectrum of the kind of interests that we have across the sector. Those people joining us online, essentially how we're going to run tonight is have a little bit of a session, half-an-hour sessions. Essentially, we're going to kick off discussing the nuts and bolts of running a repair cafe, and all of you may have some experience of volunteers or as conveners that we'd like you to share. This is very much an opportunity to contribute your ideas, your experiences and your challenges working in this repair cafe space. So roughly the format of the evening will be a half-an-hour session from roughly 6:15 to 6:45 on the nuts and bolts of running a repair cafe. Some of the challenges that we know that people face, and particularly for people in this room in southeast Queensland or in Queensland generally, this is not an issue that's shared across other states of Australia, is electrical repair or repair of electrical items. It's particularly a challenge here in Queensland because of our regulatory regime, and we're very fortunate tonight. I'll give a special shout out to Roger, welcome Roger, and I personally have to thank Roger because he fixed my lamp, which was uncomfortable for many, many years. But Roger is currently visiting a number of repair cafes at in Redcliffe, in the Peninsula, at Sandgate, at the potentially, or has visited the Gap, Woolloongabba, but also potentially others like the Grove that's newly established. So Roger really just needs a clone of himself, or we need Roger to sign up all of his friends, because in Queensland, and as you'll hear, we have particular challenges around repair of electrical items. Some of the other issues around how you manage your customers or the members of the community who come and bring items for repair. Les Buckler, who's established the Peninsula Repair Cafe at Redcliffe, and I'm very sorry to say that Les has got COVID, so was going to join us tonight but is unable to. I'm very sorry to hear that, and he's actually not able to join us online because he is suffering with COVID symptoms quite badly. So he has actually set up a tribe booking system, and Les was going to speak to us tonight a little bit about that. We've got Wayne here who might be able to share some experience, but I know some of the repair cafes have trialled this system. There's pros and cons of using booking systems, and so that's part of what we'll talk about tonight, but also the very real issue about insurance, how organisations and repair cafes are looking at insurance. We'll then follow with a bit of discussion, half an hour, from those of you who are establishing in the process of or thinking about or want to establish a repair cafe. There is the Repair Cafe International that provides a digital kit that you can sign up for €49. You can buy that. It gives you a lot of guidance, but some people like to use that model. Other people like to set up essentially and establish themselves in other ways. So we'll look at the different models of how you may do that. At 7, we'll be joined by Karen and Denny Ellis, who are Mended Australia, who are passionate repair advocates and experienced repairers themselves, and they've volunteered their time to join us for a question and answer session. Karen and Denny don't actually run a repair cafe, they're not conveners, but they are tinkering travellers. They travel between repair cafes in and around Victoria, and they've got some really pearls of wisdom to share with us. Following that, we might turn our minds to looking at issues around funding and support, how we can continue to grow the repair cafe movement in Australia, what are the challenges and what are the benefits of seeking funding. And then towards the end, we'll finish with a general discussion about where we go from here. One thing I would like to say is a reminder that we are recording this session. If anyone has any objections, please let us know. But we do like to keep a record of these events so that people can come and review them and visit them if they have been unable to attend. But also, this is something for you to consider throughout the evening. It's such a valuable resource that we have all of your email addresses and contact details, because part of tonight is a networking event, and some of you I know have not met each other before. So I would invite you to consider whether you would be willing to share your email address with each other. We obviously have them through your registration. Obviously, if you do not want that to happen, please let us know, and that goes as well with the people online. But we know that there are Facebook websites where repair cafes are communicating, but what I'd like to see is a build-up of contacts, so that if anyone needs any help, that you know who you can speak to and reach out across the different repair cafes here that we have present here tonight. Once again, I'd like to thank the Law Future Centre for sponsoring this event tonight. Thank Melanie, thank Eleanor and Mary for coming along to support this event. But basically, I thought I'd now, right on time, excellent, at 6:15, open the first session this evening. And that is, I thought I would ask you all, including our participants online, about those of you who have been running a repair cafe, who've established repair cafes. And I'm going to look now to Dan Martin from Sandgate, who established the Sandgate Repair Cafe, because Dan really broke some new ground, I think. And so I think I might kick off with inviting you to say a few words, and then obviously we can join in around the table and around online. For those of you who've had experience, we've got some people here who are looking at establishing repair cafes, but we have a session that will follow that. So maybe I might, we have a microphone here. I might just leave you in your spot and share a microphone because this is recorded. If you have a question or a comment, can you just wait till we have a microphone, because then it will all be captured for the participants online. So I might ask Dan just to say a few words. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Leanne. So I understand you're interested in the nuts and bolts of how you run a repair cafe on the day.
Yes.
So for those of you who are yet to have that experience, this is how we do it at Sandgate. And Wayne, jump in if I'm out of date. I've been on for a while. I've seen more times. I'm always on holiday. Just ask Maureen. Okay, so we put an events calendar on Facebook with our upcoming workshops. We plan the whole year in advance. That gives the public opportunity to see when we're operating. We send an email out to all our fixers and helpers, all of our volunteers, and ask for them to commit to a particular workshop, or the next workshop rather. Once we know that we've got sufficient people and a sufficiently broad range of skills, we will update our event, showing what kinds of repairs we'll be capable of at the next session. Those fixers and volunteers, sorry, they're called fixers and helpers, they arrive about 15 to 30 minutes before the public arrive, and their main job at that point is to set up and fend off eager visitors. Because people realise that there's going to be a bit of a wait, so of course they jump the gun and arrive before we open, thinking they're going to get first in line. So we're open, we've got a line at the door, probably 6 or 7 deep at least. We have someone run down that line with a repair ball, getting an understanding of what the issue is with their part. We're kind of trying to do a triage process there, where we say, look, that's just not something we're going to be able to do today, or it's not something we'd ever be able to do. Like, for example, someone texted us about the repair about the restoration of a wooden rocking horse. And yes, it's a repair, but it's many, many hours of work, and lots of drying time and sanding and painting. It's just, that's not what we mean by repair. And I guess there's a lot of education required for the public on precisely what it is we do and don't do. And that will come eventually as people talk in the community. We have a role called a chaperone, which takes that individual, that member of the public, to the repair, and we've got someone doing a whiteboard, to ensure that we don't forget anyone, and just to assign repairs to the right people that have the right skill set. We have people going around the room engaging with the people that are waiting. There's some pretty long faces there sometimes due to 30, 40, 60-minute waits or more, which would be a great time to throw to Les and his booking system, but we'll have to hear about that another day. The whole thing is at Sandgate is a really lively event. We have something like 10 to 15 repairers at every session. Once a month we hold our workshops. We have something like 30 to 50 visitors, and the event is completely absorbing. We find all 15 of those repairers and fixers and helpers are completely engaged. You really cross over into it's a completely out of mind experience, and you're a little exhausted at the end, but also a sense of accomplishment. For every repair we succeed at, and we succeed at about 60 to 70% of our attempts, we ring a bell and we take photos and post them on Facebook, celebrate those successes so everyone can hear extend success. And our forms that we fill in at the beginning are completed by the repairer to explain things like what's the weight of the item, what did we say from landfill, and what was wrong, and how was it repaired or not. And we collect that data, so one day we can crunch it for various things. Is that everything you're looking for, Leanne?
That sounds perfect. It was really, Wayne, do you want to throw in this is really just an opportunity to share some ideas of the way that you do things. Wayne, have you got a few? Can
I ask a question as well?
Yes, you can ask.
Did you buy the kit originally and are you listed on the website?
Yes, I bought the kit from Repair Cafe International. I think it was like 49 euros or something like that, but when you go through the paperwork, you realise that in true Netherlands style, you can actually pay whatever amount you nominate.
Oh, okay.
Well, I just paid 49 euros.
So, Eleanor has just asked me two questions, which I actually already just notes it down, which I'll probably answer. So Dan talked about the fact that we can't repair or renovate a rocking horse. Well, there's a reason we keep 5-minute epoxy. Half an hour. 5 minutes, that's about all the time we've got to do something like that. We need to fix the outdoor within a short space of time. We just don't have the hours, when we're there for 3, maybe 4 hours. We want to try and get one person every half hour through the weekend. Sometimes it will take longer. One of the key things that is very important, I sort of brought this up early when I joined, that is often forgotten, and that is managing expectations. That is probably one of the key things that, as coordinators and being operatives, managing the expectations of the general public, anybody who walks through that door, or hopefully beforehand via our Facebook page, messages, and just general community information as to what they should expect from us. Which lends itself to the third point that this is not a free service. I'm not sure which word to sort of emphasise there. Yeah. Well, it's free, yes, but we try not to sort of emphasise that it's a free service. We encourage the person who's brought the item to sit down with us and engage and learn something. And I've experienced that Redcliffe and at Sandgate, they come along, drop the odd drift off and go, oh, I'll be back in an hour. No, sorry, that's not how we work. And that comes back to managing expectations. But it's not a service as such. We are there to help them get something repaired that would otherwise be thrown away, that would otherwise be just too expensive, too uneconomical to repair, and to give that item some new life and some new joy to the owner. And we've seen it many times with an old clock, something that's really sentimental that might be 100 years old. And yeah, Dan's got some examples of that. Les would have heaps as well, and it's really joyful to know that we can do that. Sorry, getting back to the engagement, it's great to be able to talk with them, find out about the history. You've got to find out what's happened with the item anyway. And I like to engage the kids that are there with them as the screw guardian. So I give them a ton of screws and say, look after those. I'm going to lose them, so that they keep an eye on them for me. But little things like that.
Thanks very much. I think we all underscore the importance of the educative process, intergenerational, as we've heard from a number of people today, the importance of getting the kids are often the keepers of the parents with respect to this. They're learning in kindy that their toys can be fixed and that their bike can be repaired or their clothes can be repaired. One of the most moving moments I had at the Sandgate Repair Cafe was watching a grandmother bring in her grandson whose school uniform had been ripped. and she couldn't sew, and the lovely lady at the repair cafe actually sewed the pocket back onto the school uniform of the boy because he was on detention until his uniform was fixed. And so literally there was a tear in the grandmother's eye by way of thanks, so that he could basically participate in his education, which really goes to, you know, to the very heart of things. So I really, we probably don't have time to, you know, give everybody a chance, although I'd love to. I'd just perhaps like to offer the opportunity for another 5 or so minutes here in the room, and then we'll see if we've got some people online who'd like to contribute. I know we have the Woolloongabba Repair Cafe, we've got the UQ Repair Cafe, Kedron, I know you're starting up soon. We've got Bayside, so maybe, is there anything else you'd like to add? Perhaps Thomas?
Actually,
I will introduce the electrical challenges and I'll talk to Roger. So Les Barker was going to join us from the Peninsula to talk about the fact that, and as I highlighted, here in Queensland, repair of electrical goods is particularly challenging. Les has worked with Roger to develop a bit of a guide around repair of electrical goods. Roger, do you want to give us a quick summary of that? Because Roger is the electrical guru.
Would say I'm an electrical guru, but I've got a few years behind me. The Electrical Act in Queensland is quite stringent, and it limits people to non-electrical people for doing a lot of the electrical work. And as such, you need somebody that has a full electrical license or a contractor's license, contractor electrical license, to oversee all of that. What you do have is people that at these cafes, we can have multiple people doing electrical work, but it's got to be triaged in the first place to see if what the voltage is that they're going to be operating at, and there's several voltage levels that have been licensed, and also there's restricted licenses for different levels of that voltage. So you can do a triage in the first instance and say, oh, it's just farm it out to Joe Blow over there or something like that, or it comes to an electrical person that's fully licensed, that's quite often me around the place. But then I can just say to somebody, can you take this on, and I'll inspect it at the last bit to say, yes, it is good, or not do this little bit of tidying up work onto it, something like that. So there is a procedure that I had a lot of influence in that has been written, and it's been passed on to Les and of Redcliffe, and he's pushing it around the system now, especially for Queensland here. And there's been very little feedback on that, so it's had a couple of drafts and we've tidied it up, and that's where it stands at the moment. So if you need a copy or need to get in touch with that, either come to me or in first instance, or go to Les also. He's right up to speed, but Les is not an electrical person as far as I know. He's just a convener, which is quite necessary, of course. So he's driving all of that, but I'm the technical expert on it. I have no association with the licensing board apart from getting my license renewed every 5 years. So, but I've got a lot of experience in the electrical side of things and pretty cognizant of the rules and regulations.
Thanks, Roger. I think that's really important for those, but this is for Queensland repair cafes. I know that this is not an issue in other states, but for Queensland repair cafes, Les, in conjunction with Roger and other people, have developed a very useful guide, and we're happy to be the vehicle to share that, or you can contact Les or Roger particularly. I should give a shout out to Les as well, who's actually established a try booking system. He's finding that particularly useful, so that means that people can actually register in online to indicate what they're bringing in. So, and that helps with a bit of matchmaking with their repairer. So whether it's wooden furniture or a bicycle or clothing, they can then match with an appropriate mender. So I'm just going to and again, if you're interested in the tribe booking system, contact Les, but I'm just going to hand over to the Woolloongabba Repair Cafe for a quick chat.
We tried the tribe booking for 2 repair cafes, and it made a huge difference. I mean, you guys talked about waiting times, and half an hour, 3/4 an hour. We didn't have any waiting times. We noticed that quite a lot of people at times got a bit upset because they were waiting for quite a while, and they were disappointed because they couldn't get items fixed after waiting for an hour or something. So that alleviated the waiting. Roger also likes the list because he can find out what he needs to repair and have some expectations about that. And people can call up and cancel, and most people do turn up. So we found tribe booking great, not too hard to set up to, correct, Tamika? So I would highly recommend. I think that's really changed a lot for us.
What's your level of participation in that? What kind of visitors do you get show up?
Not many actually show up on the day that haven't.
It's Brooke. I'm also from the same repair cafe. We find that often they'll book for one item, but maybe then also bring supplementary items. So like they'll book for electrical, but maybe also bring a sewing item or working items.
I think we have to agree it's a great community. There's lots of goodwill. I think we have free insurance, a free place. So I think that's really bringing that out, and that's a really lovely thing. Adding value to people, bringing value to products, that's for us, and also things which are useless and broken. What else? I think a big thing also is responsible together as a group. That not just one person be the person doing the whole, trying to carry the whole repair cafe, or the whole group be responsible, also getting the kudos, like meeting opportunities, or as a group, I think that's a really important thing. It's like quite a lot of community organisations at times, one person does it all, and it falls apart. So that's important thing. Everyone in the group be involved with that. That's my opinion. One other comment from another person who could be here is good insurance and I guess venues can work out through council. I think that's an interesting idea. And we have to go through, every one of us go to find insurance and stuff. I think that's a great idea to see whether we can approach council and provide this for all the repair cafes. I mean, why start it up again and again? So that's an idea. Yeah.
Thanks, Thomas. I think what's really important to note is that there's, hello people online, sorry. What's very important to note is that there's lots of really valuable contributions and comments being made in the chat tonight. What we will try to do, you won't be able to see it because it's very small up on the screen for the people in the room, but what we will do is try to record all of those details, the information sharing that's going on online with participants following the seminar. So thank you very much for your contributions about how you do it in your particular repair cafe or how you're doing it online as well. As I said, this is the electrical issue is a particular Queensland issue, and we know that other states don't find that. But the insurance issue is something. I'd just like to invite our University Repair Cafe from University of Queensland just to say a couple of words, because I think this is really has a lot of potential in Australia to get all of those wonderful students and academic staff involved in. They've got all the skills. So, Pavina?
Yeah, so what we basically do is I think similar to what Thomas is doing, like I'm not sure, is booking the try booking system similar to like a Google form where you kind of like put everything, the repairs that's being done. Yeah, I think, that's what we're doing as well, just like a Google form to register repairs so we know what's coming. And we posted in UQ Stalker Space as well, where it's like all of the UQ students, so they basically know what opportunity we have, like how they can volunteer or like what the repair cafe is about. So yeah, a lot of our volunteers are actually students themselves. There is some staff as well, but it's mostly student-led, student-focused, and Yeah, we're also fairly new. So we only started in 2021. So after like every repair cafe, we have like a feedback form where like the volunteers and visitors can give us a little bit of feedback, and we just continuously improve repair cafe as we go. And it's been great talking to everyone as well. Like there's so much different ideas, and I'm like just like jotting them all down because like we need to make a repair cafe at the UQ like more accessible. And yeah, so just like work on it a bit more.
Thank you, Pavina. And I should say Pavina and, sorry, your name?
Christine.
Christine is from UQ Sustainability, who actually established a repair cafe.
Yeah, I just want to say probably one of our challenges is with a lot of our volunteers being students, and there's a few staff, but it is always a challenge that the volunteers just don't do the fix, drop it off, we'll do the fix, because there's not that confidence to sit down and teach someone how to do it. So that's probably something we need to continue to think about how we can encourage that side of it, because it is easy just to fix it, but not teach others.
Impart that knowledge.
Yeah.
And that's what's so important. I think the Repair Cafe International really underscored that importance of you stay with your item, you learn whether it's a sharpening of garden tools or whether it's a sharpening of a knife, that the skill is being passed on. So that people have the confidence then to undertake the repair themselves. So I think that education is, and the confidence building is really important. Bayside, would you like to contribute any further ideas?
I think looking at myself here at Bayside, we've been running for 3 months now and having a lot of fun. That's the main thing, I think. We've learned a few things. Certainly the try booking system worked well for us. The ability to go back to people who have logged online and say, okay, it's broken. What do you think is broken about it? How old is it? Have you had it looked at before? So you can put a triage online really helps. And that's the point of setting the expectation. I think you raised it earlier, Wayne, that people aren't coming in assuming it's going to be fixed, no trouble at all. There's some doubt about it. So when we do fix it, we're heroes. That worked well for us. So the try booking system is really handy. On the electrical side, the trick we went to is a local organisation which looks after local businesses, and went to them and said, do you know any Sparkies who would help us out and look after us or oversee our work? They gave us 3 names in 10 minutes. 2 of those guys said, we're happy to come up there on Saturday or Sunday, oversee what you do and be involved. So you don't have to do it yourself. It gives Roger a break, and then you can actually share that with other people. They get some kudos. We advertise their name in our newsletter, so we hand out their business cards. We can give them a sponsorship spot on one of the tables, so they get a bit of business sponsor as well. So it's a bit of a trade-off. So as much as possible, use somebody else's expertise and use somebody else's money if you can too. Yes, the money is important. From that point of view, the cafe side of it, and no one's spoken about that yet. We actually operate out of an organisation that's towards a leisure centre. They do great temperature teas. So they make the temperature teas, they sell the temperature teas and make some money. They're happy, we're happy. It works really well. So everyone knows about it in the local area. And we promote through our local council. We talk to our local businesses. There's 200 people on our circulation communications list. They get a copy of the newsletter. People that come to us online, we go back and confirm afterwards, you came to our event, here's the newsletter, because they'll tell other people. So to make it easy to spread the word, you have to do it all yourself through the neighbourhoods.
Thank you. That's wonderful. Actually, the idea of the cafe part, I visited the Gap Cafe and they had some wonderful cupcakes made by some of the local school children who were fundraising. That was fantastic. There was a coffee van there from a local business. There was really opportunity for support for the people who were waiting as well. So there was it was a really broader community activity with the Scout. It was held in the Scout Hall and there were lots of different community activity around the Repair Cafe itself, promoting local businesses as well, which I think is wonderful. So what I should say is Australia now has, you may or may not know, but we have 70 repair cafes in Australia now, and there are more growing every day. And it's great to see that we have so many repair cafes from all around Australia being represented here tonight. One day, I hope that we have all 70 participating in, in a workshop where we can build and grow this really important community. So I've been following the chat in the online discussion, and as I said, thank you very much for sharing your ideas. I don't think that we have any particular questions from our online participants. I don't see any hands up here. John, sorry. John has a question.
Thank you. John Tennant from Repair Cafe in the Grove, which we just launched. We haven't had our first meeting yet. But I just got to share about insurance because we approached, we were auspiced by another organisation, which is also us, called Transition the Grove. We've been going for about 10 years. And I contacted our insurers for that, and they said, no way, this insurance is going to cover that kind of activity. So we had to start hunting around. And we found that you can get very comprehensive insurance through the Men's Shed organisation, which you can join as a not-men's shed. I think it's called a level 3 member. It costs $28 per member with a minimum of 15. So $420 gets you $40 million public liability and a whole lot of other private liability things. And so
Gosh, that's
very,
fantastic.
very easy to do. But the fact is, it goes for a fixed year. It starts on the 28th of February to 28th of February. So as the year goes on, you get less and less bang for your money. It's still going to cost $420 for 15 years. Just want to share that.
But that's very important. That's really important information to share, because I know that from speaking to repair communities around Australia, that insurance and getting insurance and getting reasonable insurance is one of the biggest challenges that repair cafes are facing. Some, as you said, are fortunate in that they're already in a neighbourhood centre, for example, that may have existing, or in a scout den that has existing insurance coverage. But this issue of insurance is something that is significant across Australian repair communities.
When I came to take out the insurance, I found there was even a category called repair cafe, so they know what we are.
That's wonderful.
Yes, we are incorporated. So we're a transition town. Who was your specific body for the repair cafe, the Grove? We are incorporated. Do you have to be incorporated to be a men's shed?
No, you can be most men's sheds aren't incorporated.
No.
But you have the auspicing body is the one that has to incorporate.
Yes, and that whole business model of unincorporated or incorporated is something that we were coming to in a little while, because there's so many different models for how repair cafes are operating in Australia. There's certainly not one size that fits all. So I think that's what's really important. Given the time, it's roughly 6:45. So this is a really seamless transition into a discussion. For those of you like John, who's just highlighted perhaps, who are in the process of or thinking about establishing repair cafes, what are the challenges? Venue is often a really significant one. Some of the notes that I've made from discussions across the repair cafe community is usually where to hold it, how to get insurance, how to recruit your volunteers, how to let the community know that you're there and what you can do. Perhaps we did have Padma coming from the Gap, which is a newly established, but she's unfortunately been unable to join us as well. Did we have anyone who's going through the process of establishing or trying to grow their repair cafe, either online or here? Yes. Oh, excellent.
I was just concerned about locations, how to find a location.
So where are you based, Jane?
Kenmore.
Kenmore. So Brisbane West?
Yes.
Yes. Actually, we have a couple of people here from Brisbane West. As far as I know, there's no one thinking of establishing a repair cafe in the Brisbane West region, but yes, there are some people here, Jane, who are very interested, and they're here taking copious notes about setting up a repair cafe in the West area. Padma, did you want to jump in as well?
If I may, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Pepper.
And thank you for organising this, and I apologise for not being able to be there in person, and you know the reasons. The question, a couple of questions. I understand that we we belong to the Brisbane West, so whether there is a possibility of actually harnessing volunteers and others. But my main question was really in relation to insurance. We have got public liability insurance that we had to go through to obtain, and through the brokers that Les had actually helped us secure. Question is, do we also need to have volunteer insurance? And how many repair cafes actually have both, or can we just do with one? Because once we start having more than one, cost doubles or triples almost.
Thanks, Padma. Padma is from the Gap Repair Cafe that's had, I think you've had one. I went to your first one. Was that your first or a trial?
Yeah, we have actually already have had three events. The first one was to meet all the volunteers, repairers. The second and the third ones were the actual repair cafes, and we have quite a few experiences that we're happy to share. And I think some of those you have already mentioned about, or the others have mentioned about, how do you manage the flow? How do you manage expectations? And another one that we also finding is that how do you actually have somebody turning up with more than one repair item, and how much of the time gets spent. So maybe, but just this one, the question really was regard, which we have got a public liability insurance, but not the volunteer insurance. And
thanks, Padma. Thank you. We've got Dan, who's got the microphone, who might be able to shed some light on.
Yes, we had at Sandgate, we had voluntary workers group accident insurance as well. I think I might have sent you a certificate of cover.
Yes, you did. Yep.
And there's an aggregate limit of liability of $1 million, but that's spread across multiple injured people. Accidental death and disablement is a $100,000 cap. And there's a range of other specific caps. That insurance is $600 a year. I think that was the broker. I mean, this is going back 2 years. I think that was the broker that recommended that we also get that cover in addition to public liability. And of course, you know, public liability is not going to cover the workers.
No, and that's a very important point. We actually need to invite the Insurance Council to our next meeting, I think.
Just another quick comment on insurance. Our particular insurer wanted regular updates of who the cover was for. So you should be, and we're pretty lax at this, you should be sending through a list of your volunteers regular basis if you have this cover.
Yes.
So I'll throw it open to other repair cafes to answer.
Obviously, there is a lot of advantage in using a venue that is already established. I know that Les is in Encircle Neighbourhood Centre at the Peninsula at Redcliffe. That comes with, obviously, advantages of the fact that people know where it is, but also the fact that there's often insurance coverage over the building for a whole range of activities. And often, as we've heard, men's sheds, but also scout dens have something similar in place. So this is the issue of really trying to, I'll share with you, at the moment, the Queensland government is developing an e-waste action plan for Queensland about disposal, reuse and repair of e-waste in Queensland. And it's working in conjunction with e-waste watch, with John Gutsakis and Rose Reid from e-waste watch. And they're working with the Queensland government around these issues around e-waste. So there will be a discussion paper that is coming out that everyone can make submissions to. And I think these issues around venues for repair cafes, issues around insurance, issues around liability are really significant issues and really worth raising with regulators such as the Queensland government and other governments in other states as well. Gabrielle, thank you. Just for the benefit of everyone else, Gabrielle said that they have public liability insurance for repairs, but not for push bike repairs, bicycle repairs. which is interesting. That is something important in terms of what exclusions you have. And I think the issue of having both public liability insurance and insurance for your individual repairers, volunteers, is also very important. So can I ask a question of everyone, established or not established? How do you market your events? I know from my exposure to a lot of repair cafes, a lot of groups use Facebook. There's a lot of nodding. Instagram or Facebook, social media generally. Are there any other?
Sometimes works.
The fantastic old-fashioned piece of paper.
Take it home, put it on the fridge, let someone read it.
So
That's wonderful.
I pound the papers.
Okay.
Local council.
So we have Bayside who use a piece of paper. Can I have a quick look at that? Sorry, I'm going to sketch that. It's basically using the Repair Cafe International materials, but basically highlighting that there's one open and highlighting the environmental benefits and the types of things that you can bring along to the Repair Cafe and when they are on, and also the try booking details and some mobile numbers of the conveners and an email. Fantastic, well done. I think it's great to have something that you can put up on the fridge. John?
I just would like to leave it. My impression is that this is an enormously gendered issue and that people doing research on this should probably be aware of this. But we've been putting it on Facebook and had an overwhelming flood of female respondents. So I've talked to some of them, and there's almost a level of real distress out there in the community amongst women in terms of getting repairs done and stuff like that. I think it's something that is worth noting.
That's actually, thank you.
Wonderful. I'm happy to share the FAQ from the shed insurance thing, so we can sort of see how that works.
That would be wonderful. I think.
Oh, sorry, just on the membership insurance thing, do you have to be male to join it as a member?
Yeah, there are women's sheds.
Oh,
There's a whole story about the men's shed movement. We can talk about that.
As many as they can, they just want numbers.
It started in Australia, it's now international. It is a men's shed, but there is a women's shed at Pony Grove. There are more women's sheds growing. And there's an interesting thing about co-ed sheds. No, about this issue, about the availability, about the insurance issue.
So to join the men's shed insurance, do you have to be male?
No.
I'm from Perth and we've got a repair cafe for about 3 years, and I was going to comment on the how do you advertise question, which is it's gone to another subject now, but we have our local council, who support us quite strongly, funded some signage that we put up outside our building during the week before the repair cafe. So that's something that we can put up and take down again before our sessions. And that's how a lot of people get to know we're open for business on the day. And we've got an ability to change the date on it. Okay, I just thought I'd tell you that's one other way of doing it.
That's great, Anne. Thank you very much. I think there's a whole range of different ways.
Just very briefly, it's not to do with it's to do with where you get your customers or your visitors from. What we've done is a survey. Anyone comes in and fills the form in the repair form, we ask them where they heard about us. So at the end of the sessions, we say, okay, so many people heard us on Facebook, local council, newspapers, whatever. So we've got some evidence to work from, and we can decide where then is best to advertise or promote our activities. You're not wasting time and money.
I have a bit of a different attitude. Staying at a repair cafe are really popular, despite COVID. And I mean, we don't want any more visitors. What we want is more fixers, and particularly electricians, because quite a large percentage of the stuff coming in the door is electrical. But yeah, absolutely, we use paper initially. directed people to Facebook. And also don't forget you can direct traffic to your Facebook page on community pages. So, suburb pages, council pages, get them to forward things to you. And yeah, it didn't take very long to build our user base.
I was just going to say on the point of advertising, I was talking about it with Chris earlier, is it's very hard sometimes to know how to grow as a repair cafe. Once you reach that maximum capacity at the venue you're at, you almost, like I said, don't want to advertise because you haven't got any more space. And then it's how do you grow out, like you need either more volunteers or do you increase your frequency? There's like that growth and how you grow in a sustainable way is a big challenge.
Hi, Karen. Hi, Danny.
Hi, everyone.
Karen and Danny, we just thought it would be great if you could share some of your experiences. Karen and Danny travel around a number of different repair cafes, and they have been repairing for a very long time. Passionate repairers, very strong advocates for repair in Australia. So I thought it might be great if Karen and Danny can just share some of their experiences with us here tonight. Thank you.
Well, it's Karen and Danny Ellis from Mended Australia. And you probably have been following us, well, a lot of you have.
Just echo.
Oh, there's some feedback. Sorry, it's a bit annoying.
Go on.
Oh. And as Leanne said, we travel around to community repair events in Victoria, and we've pretty much done 31 events per year for about 6 years, but COVID obviously disrupted that. We did try to start up a repair cafe where we live, but we didn't get the support of our local government and local agencies. But that was way back in 2015 or 2012 actually. So we wanted to be the first repair cafe in Australia, and that accolade went to the Bower in Marrickville a couple of years later. And so being passionate about repair, we thought we're not getting the support locally, so how are we going to do this as retirees that really want to volunteer in the community? Unfortunately, we haven't been able to volunteer in our own community for a number of reasons, which I won't go into, but we've been welcomed with open arms in other municipalities around Victoria, and more recently in Melbourne with COVID and with petrol prices skyrocketing. We decided to this year stay more local and just attend a couple of repair cafes on a monthly basis. So we're probably doing one repair cafe or 2 repair cafes a month now. But as Leanne said, we are advocates for repair and the right to repair. So we're now doing a lot of work behind the scenes with the Australian Repair Network. As you know, Leanne is leading that. And also, internationally, we are keeping abreast of all the developments that are happening with community repair all over the world, and with the right to repair all over the world. And we do a bit of campaigning and with politicians to bring attention to the issue of repair as well. And we try and do that more from a community perspective to try and push forward community repair and raise awareness of reuse and repair in the community. So as retirees, we're pretty much on this, volunteering every day for the global repair movement, the Australian repair movement. Danny?
Oh, yeah, my part in all this is just supporting Karen and just going to these repair events and using my skills and ability in the best way I can, and that in various ways is whether it's electronics, electrical or mechanical. But I also enjoy the atmosphere it creates with people coming in, hoping upon hope they can get their special appliance or lamp or whatever fixed, and you just sit down and you do the best you can. And we've had some really good finishes with people actually crying because they've had their lamp repaired, and it's only a lamp, and they're one of the easiest things to fix. But look, that's one of the big bonuses of repair events is the social side. And I know the repair cafes try to get the people who come in to get involved in repairing. My view is, like, we've got very limited time, and a lot of these repair events, they'll give you a half-hour block to fix this because they pre-book. So if you're there for your 3 hours, you might have 5 bookings, and of course the 6th one is you having a bit of a break. So you've got that pressure of time. But I certainly, if people are enthusiastic about getting their hands in there and getting dirty, I'll hand them the tools and away you go. But most of them sit back and just are happy with you providing the knowledge and the experience, and sometimes advice. A lot of times it's just advice, and it mightn't even be the thing you're fixing. It's something else they got at home and wondering what the best course of action there. But Karen talking before about the international, I'll just tell you a little story about, I picked up a 32-inch computer monitor, and the board had blown off a couple of components. Now, we had a connection in the States who loved doing this stuff, and I sent him a picture of the board, and he sent me back the information I needed to repair that board. So you just don't have to have it within your own community. There's people out there that are willing to put their hand up and help you in any way they can, and we're the same. And that's how we've got to think. Every repair event, whether it's a repair cafe or a fix-it event or whatever, we've all got to have this mentality of we're all in it together, and we've got to spread the love everywhere, and we can cross-pollinate and do whatever. You know, if someone finds out particular, whether it's insurance or venues or whatever, it's always handy to pass that information on how you achieve that. You know, like as Karen said, our local Shire had no interest in us at all, but now 10 years later they're thinking of doing one. So
in 2 years' time.
In 2 years' time. So look, that's probably me done. I'll hand back to Karen.
Yeah, one thing that we're really impressed with is that getting back to Danny talking about the networking, is that the Queensland Repair Cafes seem to be doing that a lot better than what we're doing in Victoria. I'd just like to pass that on. I am on your mailing list, and I receive your emails, or it does, but I do really. And I'm so impressed with the communication and the sharing. And so I think you're really off to a great start in Queensland, and we're probably been going in Victoria longer, but we haven't quite achieved what you have. We're still working in silos. And look, I don't think that's necessarily wrong. I guess there's just different models, but our preference is that we band together, because if we want to get repair on the agenda and its rightful place, in the circular economy that everyone's pushing, then, working together, we're a lot stronger. So working in silos, it has its advantages at a local level. You don't have to worry about a lot of bureaucracy and red tape, but certainly if we want to move repair to that level where it's being funded, for example, at a federal level, we need to band together. And of course, Leanne is leading that along with the steering committee for the Australian Repair Network. We hope to see that develops more and more in time. So that's us. We're pretty busy and we're pretty excited about all of this. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mental Australia. We really appreciate you taking the time to speak to us tonight. I'd just like to, and Brigitte, I'm sorry to put you on the spot, but if you're there, I just think it's so wonderful that you're joining us all the way from New Zealand, because we are trying to build a Trans-Tasman Repair Alliance, not only repair cafes here in Australia, but Brigitte has been doing some fantastic work in New Zealand. And Brigitte, if you're there, I'd love to have you share a bit of a story about your journey in New Zealand.
Hello, everyone.
Hi, Brigitte.
Yeah, what a wonderful gathering. I'm so impressed. It's beautiful, all the sharing. So yeah, I'm in Aotearoa, New Zealand, and we grew out of Auckland, which is the main city, I guess, in Aotearoa on the North Island. This was funded by the council project between 2017 and 2019. And after this, we decided to join all together and start a national organization. So, and last year, we gained so much support and so much enthusiasm, by the community, that we grew basically double the size of repair cafes within 6 months' time, and it was just so exciting. And we launched officially on the International Repair Day on the 16th of October. And this is something that we would like to continue offering to the community, just bringing everyone together in the repair space. So we are also connected with, I guess the equivalent will be Choice for you. That's it's Consumer New Zealand, and the council, educational sector, the maker spaces, and tool libraries. Yet many different aspects. We are also working with our Indigenous people in bringing Repair Cafe to Marae. So this is something that we will be documenting and sort of exploring a little bit further. And we have the offer from several academics to do research into our repair cafes. Yeah, so it's just a little bit of insight, and yeah, very excited to be working alongside you and sharing and growing together. Thank you so much for the invitation tonight. Kia ora.
Thank you so much, Brigitte. Thank you. It's great you could join us. Essentially, I thought that we should now move on to talking about how we're all surviving as repair cafes. We know that you rely upon the volunteer community, volunteer repairers, but there are expenses associated. We've heard about insurance. There's a whole lot, the provision of tools. For example, Padma and the Gap Repair Cafe shared with me that they actually approached Bunnings, and I'm happy to give Bunnings a plug, and they gave a list to Bunnings, and Bunnings actually supplied them with a whole range of tools for their repair cafe at the Gap, which was wonderful. I suspect, if you approach other hardware such as Mitre 10, they might be interested as well. But there's a whole, this issue about funding. What I think we would be useful to share is any funding models where people have been successful. I know in Brisbane, we have a Lord Mayor's Community Fund that some repair cafes have been able to apply for and access funding. I know, having looked at the criteria, that they often require an ABN registration, so that does depend on the business model of your repair cafe. Obviously, some that are relying upon premises of other places, but I really thought I'd just open it to both online and here in the room about, has anyone found this secret pot of money that we're all searching for, so that we can have these really snazzy repair aprons, and that we can all have brand spanking new tools and sewing machines and everything that we need to grow our repair cafe movement here in Australia. So, yeah, I was going to say, apart from your own purses, I'm going to firstly go to John, who's, as we said before, is establishing the Grove here in Brisbane.
Thank you. No, I don't think we found a secret pot of money, but Transition the Grove has been banking with Bank Australia for some time, and they came out with their, just a few months ago, with their community grants, which they particularly wanted to know what impact the organisation would have. And so I put the grant application in, then we won't know until the end of June, I think, whether we're successful or not. But the way I approached it, because they were really keen on anything that was relevant to climate change impacts and so on. So I got very generously supplied by various repair cafes around the place the statistics of how many kilograms of waste they divert from waste. And the Repair Cafe Fund, I think it is in the UK, has a CO2 calculator. So you can stick in there how many kilograms you diverted, and that'll come up with a number of notionally how much CO2 equivalents you diverted as well, how much you saved. So I thought that was good to put in for the grant, because that's what they wanted. It's fairly easy to get that information given the real key statistics, and the fund done that calculation. So I'll let you know.
Well, that's great. Actually, it's great that you mentioned that, because I've spoken to the folk who are running the big repair project in the UK, and it's a really big data collection exercise, essentially. They've got a fantastic, I'm happy to share the link with everyone. They're basically asking everyone to enter the details of repair that's happening. And this was very much part of the issue with the submissions that we were making. But to the recent Productivity Commission inquiry that we had, the Productivity Commissioners actually were saying, where is the data? Where is the evidence that people want things repaired? Where is the data that people are fixing things? And so this issue about providing a means by which we can gather some evidence around what is happening will stand us in good stead in the future. It doesn't have to be very sophisticated, but the model that they're doing in the UK is an online, it's fantastic. And they're using the Repair Monitor so that you can put the data in. Look, we know that there's time pressures at repair cafes. Everyone's busy fixing and repairing, and this takes time. But these are things that, you know, hopefully as we get more people involved, we might be able to get students involved, people who can volunteer their time to help with some of this data collection. Because as the government's looking at recommending changes to our laws around consumer law, around intellectual property law, they will be asking us to show proof, show evidence. And this is part of the reason that we're trying to build these communities so that we have a common voice.
Yeah, that's okay. I'm Wendy. I'm from Repair Cafe Doubleview. So my name hasn't actually come up, but it came through Doubleview House. I just wanted to say that we were successful in getting a grant through the Stronger Communities grants that were available in WA last year. And we did provide a lot of evidence. We'd already been running for nearly 3 years. And so we had to show numbers of how many people have been attending, how many volunteers we had, and quite a lot of detail. But we got $3,000 and we're able to buy a lot of tools and storage, which saves our volunteers from bringing in all their tools each week, which is what had been happening prior to that.
Thank thank you. That's really useful to know. There's a couple of different programs that I'm sure in other states. I know with the recent flooding here, there's some community funds for building back communities that's available to community organisations. But in other states, there are similar. What we're finding is more generally, it's at the local government level. It may be at your local council or city council level, rather than state government or federal government. We know in Scotland, though, and Karen and Danny are very familiar with this, the Scottish government has actually just provided funding to grow the repair movement, cafe movement in Scotland, which is fantastic. It's coming from kind of a national level. So these are the types of recommendations we're trying to push up through the regulators. The city councils are fantastic. They're doing wonderful things at the waste stations and reuse and recycle and repair, but really significant funding investment needs to be made at both at all levels of government, local, state and federal, we would argue. Is there any other positive stories around funding?
Now, with funding, Wyndham Repair Cafe found a really good success with one, get your clients to email counsellors, tell them about the success. Counsellors want to hear that success. It's okay to put it on social media, but get it to the counsellors. We offer, as you can see in the comments, we also offer STEM learning after our repair cafe. That has been a big success, and by doing that, we're getting more people involved, and the council's really happy with that, because it's not just that one thing. You're saying, well, we're hoping to expand to be able to do schools and so forth. So we're finding that to be a very good way. But local council, and keep on pushing them and putting them in all your links, in your Facebook or your Instagram or whatever. Just keep on putting their name up so they see the stuff that comes out.
Thanks, Joe, and thank you very much for the invitation. I recently was down at the Wyndham Repair Cafe, and we managed to actually get the councillor from the local Wyndham Council to come out to the Repair Cafe that morning. And he was very well dressed in his suit and tie, which was fantastic. But he was very impressed with what was going on, and was really positive about a future for the repair cafes in that region. And thanks to Danny and Karen.
They're fantastic.
Helping arrange that.
Hi. So I help run the Bassendean Repair Cafe in Perth. We started in 2017. I guess we had a bit of a head start because one of the local councillors helped start it, so that's a pretty good in. But we also have another one of the council members who is a regular volunteer as well. We've managed to get a shared space with the Bassendean Youth Services, so they only use it in the evenings, this building. And so on the weekends it was free, so we've got a free nice space with a big storage area. And that costs us absolutely nothing. And then we've also got a grant from the state waste sorted grants, which is based around recycle, reuse, that kind of that kind of initiative in spaces, which I think is it's definitely a state government, but it's related to the local government waste movements. But that was actually a grant not to continue the repair cafe, but to start up a library of things, or a full library. So we're planning on using that grant to not only kit out the tools for the repair cafe, but then make those tools and a few other things available to the community as well. So that was seen as add value. So we've now got essentially two organisations, the repair cafe and the fair shed, running out of the same space.
That's great. I think the Gold Coast, with David Painter, it also has a Gold Coast tool library and the Gold Coast Repair Cafe work in collaboration. And I think what we're seeing is that there's strength where you can partner organisations together, whether it's working within the community neighbourhood centres or with the men's sheds or with the scouts, or because we're all essentially, volunteer organisations trying to provide a service essentially in the community.
I'm sorry, I'm Karen.
Oh, sorry, could I just have one more thing?
Oh, sorry.
Tim's got one.
Tim, back to you.
Sorry, just in relation to the stats, we were originally collecting stats, and we have been since we pretty much started in 2017. But one of our volunteers is quite a whiz at websites and interlinking databases. So if anyone wants to check out Repair Cafe, bassendeanrepaircafe.org.au, we've got actually a live stats thing that after each session, it has sort of percentages of how many items have come in, how many were successfully repaired, etc., and for each month, which was relatively simple to set up.
Tim, that's great. Can I ask that you put that in the chat? Because what we'll be able to do is download a bit of a transcript of the chat comments and put together with the recording so that we can capture some of the valuable kind of insights that are being shared online, because those of us here in the room can't really see the individual comments. But anyone who has a repair cafe either here in Southeast Queensland corner or in any of the other states present here tonight, that if you've got something innovative that's working really well, please share it, because I think it provides such a valuable resource for the rest of us so that we can learn and improve. There's no point everyone reinventing the wheel, so to speak.
Yes. Just wanted to mention about the Sustainability Victoria grants in Victoria, and they're quite substantial, and they're coming under more a recycling circular economy plan, and they are encouraging any activities that are reuse and repair related, and I think they're funding like for like. And so if they give, I don't know, $20,000, you've got to give $20,000. But that doesn't have to be financial. That can be volunteer labour hours, for example. And there are sort of quite a few programs being funded under that. Now, the only trouble is we certainly can't apply as MENDA because we're not incorporated. So you have to be incorporated. The other thing is you've got to apply for a grant. They can be quite labour intensive when you're repair cafe people and you're all volunteers to actually be applying for grants as well. And they're all short term, which is a bit of a shame. So I guess that's what we try and do at a higher level, is campaign for those activities to become more long-term and dedicated venues for them in the community rather than just short-term.
Thanks, Karen. That's really useful. I think as more and more of us explore the funding space, I think if we are able to bring this community together, that we can set up some means of communication, we can share all these ideas as well. A couple of things I would like to just say by way of, bringing this a little bit to a close is, how do we get this message out about the great work being done by repair cafes? We've talked about social media. There's Twitter, there's Instagram, there's Facebook. Each of us probably have strengths in some or all of those things. But one opportunity that we have here in Southeast Queensland that I will share with all of you is the Brisbane City Council runs a Green Heart Fair, and this is basically an environmentally sustainable awareness raising campaign by the Brisbane City Council. It will be run on May 29 at Victoria Park. It's a full day event. They usually have, from speaking to the organisers, between 20 and 30,000 people who go through that event. They have a full day program there's a centre kind of, stage, And Les Buckler from the Peninsula Repair Cafe and myself will be doing a session at 12:30 on that day, talking about how repair cafes can fix your stuff, to try and advertise the work of repair cafes and to promote it more generally. And we will use some of the information around each of your repair cafes about how often they run and where they run. So we'll be contacting you, those of you in Southeast Queensland, for details of when you run, who are the conveners, mobile numbers or emails or times and locations, so that I can put that together to hand out on the day. I've also arranged to take a marquee as one of the stall holders. So we have a premium corner position tent for the day. And we will be promoting the Australian Repair Network, which is hosted at Griffith University. We have a website that we can, don't know how we're going to do that, but if you Google Australian Repair Network, essentially this grew out of the event that we held in Canberra last year, which was the first Australian Repair Summit. Oh, thank you. Up on the screen, hopefully you can see the Australian Repair Network. We are a group of repair enthusiasts. You will see, can I use this? Oh, terrific. We are essentially trying to build momentum around the repair movement. Essentially, we are a group of people, a wide range of stakeholders interested in working in the repair sector, wanting to engage in open dialogue with government and industry. This is really important. I am very strongly of the opinion that repair is not an us and them situation. We need to educate and work with our manufacturers around repairability, work with our designers about how to better design the goods. I know we have Eleni from the QCA here, the Queensland College of Art, who's an expert in design, joining us here tonight. Design of the products, how they're designed. Are the batteries able to be replaced easily and simply? These are all conversations that we need to have. I've delivered presentations to Engineers Australia around software engineering, around mechanical, computer engineering. Everything we are trying to do is in conjunction with industry, with the manufacturers. So we have on board people who are working with manufacturers. We've seen recently Apple come out and announce a self-repair program. We've seen Samsung do the same thing. We've seen Google talk about repair. We have heard John Deere talk about repair. I don't believe it yet, but I can talk about John Deere. But we're really seeing momentum across the world that there's discussion. There's a lot of fantastic work being done on repair in the fashion industry. Textile waste is a huge, in conjunction with electronic waste. So what we have is essentially a steering committee, which you can see myself, Kanchana, John Gutsakis from E-Waste Watch, Karen from Mended Australia, Leslie Yates, who is from the Australian Automotive Aftermarket Association, the car repair industry. Congratulations to the AAA, who have almost single-handedly seen Australia with its first right to repair legislation. You will now be able to take your BMW, Mercedes or Hyundai to your independent repairer, and they will be able to get access to the diagnostic software that they need to repair your vehicle as of July 1. Yeah. New right to repair law. 14 years, I think. Matthew Steen from Choice, Guido Gerbist, who was the person who established the Bower in Marrickville, as we heard Karen talk about, and a long-term repair advocate. And we have a new member, Brent Morton, who's a farmer from Young in New South Wales, who's helping me with the agricultural right to repair. So we are very passionate around repair. So what we are trying to do is build a network, and what you will see on our website, if I go back, the reason I'm showing you this is that we are providing an avenue that you can sign up. And what that means is you're not signing up to anything, you know, you're not going to get spammed by me. But what we are trying to do is, from the first repair summit that we held in Canberra in July last year, we had over 300 people attend that. It was in the thick of COVID. We had approximately 100 people in the room and 200 people online internationally across the world joined us. This is, I'm sorry, Renee, I've just forgotten to mention Renee, who is on our steering committee as well, and Jane Hawthorne, who are two wonderful volunteers to our steering committee who are helping us in a volunteer capacity. Jane is our secretary extraordinaire and everything to me at the moment. And Renee is also from a textile background and she is helping as well. So you can sign up to the Australian Repair Network. We do, over the coming years, plan to hold more events. So similar to the Green Fair here in Brisbane, I will be promoting the work of the Australian Repair Network, about the work of your community, the Repair Cafe community here in Australia, providing some information and resources. There's a whole lot of resources on this website. You can see previous events that we held. This event will go up there as well. That's a broken link, but that's okay. That'll be fixed. But all of our events that we have held have been recorded, so you can access that, as will this one as well. So the reason I mentioned the Green Heart Fair is in the tent. If anyone is interested in coming along from your volunteer community, please reach out to me. My email is l.wiseman@griffith.edu.au, because I'm not going to invite Brisbane to bring along their broken things on that particular day. But it might be useful to have one or two examples of things being fixed. You know, whether it's mending or whether it's a bicycle or whether it's an electrical item. But I think it's more an awareness raising exercise. And I think that it's a really good opportunity here in Brisbane that we can actually raise the profile of the work that's being done. Sorry. So essentially, I don't have anything further that I thought we could cover tonight, because really my main purpose, Kanchana, our main purpose tonight was to bring you together so that people can meet face to face and meet online, so that you can share some of your experiences. But the biggest thing is that you work collectively together going forward and share some of the wealth of your experiences and information. Dan, did you have a question?
Not a question, it's a proposal.
Fantastic, I love a proposal.
Along those lines. Hi everyone, Dan again. Sorry, I didn't hear a lot of me. So on the Australian Repair Network website, just a suggestion, I started a guide to starting a repair cafe. It's in its infancy at the moment, it's only 7 pages. I think Padma might be the only person that's had a look at it. But this is something I thought we could collaborate on. So you know, an experienced repair cafe will make a start, and repair cafes that have been operating for a year will add to it, and repair cafes that are just starting up will criticise and ask questions. And we could keep this in draft for several months and build it to a reasonable point where it's ready for release. And then I would propose that would go up on the website.
That's fantastic.
And also Karen and Jane could put it on their page.
Yes, Exactly. Thank you very much. The plan is that the Australian Repair Network will have a resources page. It's in its infancy. The other thing I will mention is that I am planning in conjunction with the steering committee to host our second Australian Repair Summit. The date is yet to be determined, but it will be with the calling of the federal election. It will be very late July, early August at this stage, because it's just anything earlier will be too difficult. But basically, this will provide an opportunity not only for repair cafes to come together, but for us to learn some lessons from the other industries in Australia about how they're progressing with reform, legislative reform, and community attitudes and awareness around repairability in Australia. So keep kind of posted about that. If there are no further comments or questions, I would like to draw this to a close. And once again, thank everyone for joining online. We know how difficult it is when you're not here in person. But we are very grateful for the fact that you've contributed in the way that you have. And as I say, thank you very much for the comments in the chat box, which we will record and share. Thank you again to everyone who has come and participated tonight. I think hopefully you've all gained something from it. A big thanks again to the Law Futures Centre at Griffith University and Eleanor, Mary and wonderful Melanie. Thank you all once again, and I wish you a very safe trip home. Thank you.